Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Adhitamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There is always a confusion in my mind to decide if I should work abroad or I should work in India. If I choose to go out of the country, I feel I'm not contributing to my country. So please shed some light in this view of the Vedas. In view of the Vedas, Vedas did not think of any abroad thing, those days. Some questions did not occur there, so they have not addressed them. Not possible to go abroad those days, I think. People were coming to India, but Indians also went, but generally speaking, travel across the ocean was prohibited. People didn't travel. How patriotism is to be viewed in light of Vedic wisdom. So first of all, whether to work in India or work abroad, it depends on basically what your priorities are. If, for example, earning is a priority, the need or the priority in your mind, then going abroad would certainly be more beneficial. You will be able to make much more money than you can make here. If that was not that important to you, and you could be content with what you earn in this country, then I would suggest that you be here. Then you are contributing to this country. Whatever talents you have, they are utilized in this country. So if there is a choice where the income is not the deciding factor, usually that is the deciding factor. And understandably so, after all, that's the reason why people go abroad and, going abroad has the advantages also. I also went abroad, but I said that I don't know enough here. So I must go and study more. This is the first idea in my mind. And there was always not a plan, but a thought of returning to India. It all happened in different way, but this is how it was. But my desire was to be a better engineer and more, so study and be more informed, skilled. That was the idea. And therefore there was, in my case, a plan to return. And it had worked out that I returned to Sandipani Sadhalaya straight away from New York. So that was a different matter. But so it depends upon your priority. Patriotism means that you do what you can do to contribute for the well-being of this country. And therefore contributing your talent so that they help India in some way or the other to produce something better. So that would be preferable if income was not the criterion. But that is usually, there is nothing wrong in having income as criterion, in which case it's quite all right to go abroad, but it is certainly, if there is a choice, And if you have the opportunity here, it's desirable that your talents are employed in contributing to this country. So there cannot be a simple answer to this. It depends on what opportunity you have here, what opportunity you have there, etc., etc. How is patriotism to be viewed in light of Vedic wisdom? Well, patriotism means being loyal to one's country. And not only just loyal, but also doing what one can do to help the country. So you don't need Vedic wisdom for that. It's Matrubhumi. And the Janani Janmabhumischa Swaragatapi Gariyasi. In Ramayana, Lord Rama says to Lakshmana, Janani Janma, when they were in Lanka, even though it was a golden city, Janani Janmabhumischa Swaragatapi Gariyasi. Rama remembered Ayodhya. Janani, he was missing both, and Janmabhumi. Swargadapi Gariyasi is even superior to Swarga or heaven. So that is what you feel. That's what ideally we should feel. So that kind of love and concern we should have for the motherland. Then, because we are born and raised in this land, and we look upon Bharat as Mata. Very nice Bharat Mata Stotra also. There is beautiful description of India as Mata, all the different anga of the mother, as described in that stotra. So head is Himalayas, feet are here, and then, so this is yeah. More for seva. Then yes, you must contribute to the Bharat Desha. That is true. Because Puja Swami also felt very much as to what we should, because there is a lot of work to be done. There are a lot of sections of society who are deprived. And a very beautiful sutra. People helping people. So people who are benefited, empowered, should help people who need to be empowered. So basically it is a very good spirit that you feel for the country, which most Indians don't. We can sacrifice anything for our self-centeredness. Indians are very self-centered people, really. I can sell my country. Otherwise, how can there be so much corruption at that level? Where people have compromised the well-being, wealth of this country when you're buying weapons, buying all kinds of things for the country. You still fill up your pockets, So, looking at this, I shouldn't say this, and I'm very negative that way, but I don't think that we care for our country and care for its prestige, care for its impression, care for its... But that's my personal view. It is not something that is... it's, I guess my frustration is saying this, nothing else, with the things. Because when I see people don't care for cleanliness, don't care for environment, don't care for neighbor, don't care for anybody, and dishonesty goes to the core. I'm sorry to say that an average Indian is a dishonest person. That is my conclusion, which is a very sad thing. And that is where the Western people, now then also it's changing, but basically, honesty was one of the important traits of the West, and hard work. But because of slavery, whatever happened to us somehow, the basic problem was deprivation. We did not have what we needed. It's deprivation that makes a person, grab because I need it. And then becomes a habit of grabbing. So whatever reasons are there, but this is what... so we have to be, respecting the country, respecting the motherland, having pride for the country, for the Vedic culture. It's all desirable to have. And I'm most amazed at our Prime Minister who is really proud of this country, He's genuinely proud of this country. And tremendously optimistic. That's how a leader should be anyway, but so that is something to be inculcated.
He is our Guru Bhai. Our Prime Minister is our Guru Bhai.
Yeah. Yep. Because he looked upon our Puja Swami as his Guru. The Shastras guide us that the mortal remains of one's body is to be returned to the Panchabhutas in the form of burial or cremation. In modern day, the body organ donation, this aspect seems to be overruled. How does this also affect the Pitru rituals, duty of the Karta or Gati of the donor? This organ donation is not totally new to us. There are cases of organ donation in the Puranas, like famous case of Karna, who donated his Kundala Kavacha, That is also the name of a king whose name was Shibi. And he also, that Agni came, Agni and Vayu, I think, in the Agni and Indra. One to test him. And so Agni took a form of one bird and then they were just chasing. So he's killing me, please help me, because he wants to eat. So then Shibi even gave from his own thighs the meat to feed that bird. So there is also in, I think in Mahabharata perhaps when the Pandavas were traveling, one place when there was a Rakshasa who needed, every day some sacrifice. So there also, Bakasura no. Bakasura is in Lord Krishna's thing, but somebody, I don't know if it was Bakasura, but could be. So there also Bhimsen etc. was ready, to offer himself. So there are a few cases of donation of organs in our Puranas.
Swami, you quote Dadichi.
Dadichi, of course, he gave his own, that's right, that's the most brilliant example of Dadichi, who gave his whole body.
We have down south, we have Kannappa Nayanar, who is supposed to have given his eyes to Shiva. And he placed it with his foot because he no longer had eyes. He used his foot to locate the
Lord Vishnu also is said to have given the eyes as part of the Archana to Lord Shiva. But this must be there, I'm sure, the devotee. But I guess donating organs which are critical organs, which are in short supply, like kidneys, etc., or eyes, may be in order. I may not prescribe that for my body, but I think that it's a good idea. As long as the body doesn't get disfigured, you can still bury it or cremate it. I don't like the idea of donating a whole body and they do whatever they do with it. But organ donation, in my opinion, is in order when these organs, critical organs, are in short supply. If the whole body is donated, you don't know what happens to it, then perhaps there's no cremation. Which idea I'm not too happy about.
Eyes donation. Eyes donation.
Eyes, kidney, etc. Eyes are done very commonly donated. Yeah. Swami mentioned yesterday that with family supporting, one can be in Vanaprastha without going into a forest. Can one enter into sannyasa under a similar condition? In such a case, will it be in principle sannyasa? There is a sannyasa called kuti chaka, where sannyasi lives in a small kuti in the same property. So the home is there and you make a little kuti for the sannyasi, who is a family member and is supported by the family. So that is there, kuti chaka sannyasa. Bahudaga, sannyasis who keep on traveling from one pilgrim to the center to the other. Udaka stands for a pilgrim center. There are some sannyasis. Hamsa and Paramahamsa. So this is permitted. If one fails to confront a wrongdoer due to fear of retribution, can that be equated to Arjuna wanting to run away from the battlefield under the pretense of saving his relatives? Would this be considered an act of cowardice or an act of kausalam? See, this conclusion that Arjuna wanted to run away from battlefield is not right. Arjuna did not run away out of fear. He did not run away also. He said that I see no purpose in fighting this battle, therefore I will not fight. If Lord Krishna should show him the purpose, he would fight. He did not fight, nayotse, because nacha shreyanu pashyami, I see no well-being, any good coming out of this battle. Which was the viewpoint. So it took all this time, the Lord Krishna, to make him see that there are two kinds of outcome of an action. One is the drishta phala, meaning that you fight and people are killed, or an action produces a result which is a tangible result. There is also a result that action produces punya papa, and other than that, action also can produce antakarana shuddhi. This is the main contribution of karma yoga. That karma is performed generally for a tangible result, but as Bhashyakara says, karma can give you swarga, agnihotradi. Same karma performed as an offering to Ishvara brings about antakarana shuddhi. This is in preface, Upadhada Bhashyam. So this is what Arjuna did not know. when you realize that you can perform action not for the tangible result, but the spiritual result it brings out. So Lord Krishna says, Sukha Dukkhe Same Krutva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo. It's called Samatva. So Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. And therefore, Yogastha Kuru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya. So basically it was Sangam Tyaktva, giving the attachment or giving the judgment about the outcome or karma phala. So Arjuna did not want to run away from the battlefield. He did not have any problem in confronting the evil also. But his vision changed. Evil is so relative. That is how the whole thing is. Then Lord Krishna to say that this adharma and dharma is not Kaurava and Pandava. So Arjuna came to battlefield on the side of dharma. Then he turned into Kaurava Pandava. That is why this happened. So then he had to go back to the fact that he represents dharma. But if he cannot confront wrongdoer, that was not Arjuna's situation, by the way. Not that he did not want to confront. He was capable of confronting, but he did not see the purpose of confronting. So Lord Krishna had shown him the purpose. Then he could do that. So Kaushalam is not fighting or not fighting. Kaushalam is having the right attitude in performing action. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Yoga means the attitude. In this case, Ishvararma Buddhi. Therefore, Ishvararma Buddhi or Nishkamata that you have is called kaushalam in performing, because it makes action a means of freedom. Not action really. In attitude which means of freedom, or attitude that creates bondage. Self-centered attitude creates bondage because it brings about more and more ragadvesha. Whereas this being niskama, contributor, offerer, attitude purifies the mind. So that is why that yoga means that attitude is kausalam. Karma is karma. So kausalam is not to be measured by your action. It's to be measured by the attitude that you have in the action. The other kausalam in terms of skill has its own value. So doing more efficiently, faster, etc. has value, but here we are talking about the spiritual value. In that sense, the right attitude is the skill or kausalam in action. In the mantras 9, 10 and 11, there is the mention of upasana but no mention of karma. So vidyam cha avidyam cha yastad veda ubhayam saha avidya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amrutamashnate. That is the reason why the word avidya is interpreted as karma. We said in the class that karma is the result of ignorance. Ignorance creates desire, desire creates karma. Therefore, the avidya which is cause, that's the word used for effect. Karma is effect, so it is not uncommon to use the word denoting cause to indicate effect. So even though word karma is not used, avidya means karma, so it is used. So, avidya and vidya are not ignorance and knowledge. Karma and upasana. Vidya there means upasana and avidya means karma. So, not knowledge and ignorance in that sense, as the question is. Normally, any jignyas or mumuksha is partly avidya and partly vidya. Unless he completely overcomes avidya, how can he attain immortality by performing vidya and avidya together? This immortality is nothing but the identity of devata. This is not moksha. Avidya mrityum tirtva vidya amritamashnute. Vidya means by performing karma with right attitude, mrityum, he overcomes ragadvesha, mrityu of the nature of ragadvesha. With that mind, when he performs upasana, he gains the place in the Devaloka. So Vidya, Devaloka. By upasana, you get the loka of the world of the Devata upon whom you are meditating. Just a suggestion. It would be helpful to have an exam or questionnaire at the end of every session so that we can evaluate ourselves how well we understood the Upanishad or Gita material concepts. It's a good idea, I guess, but it requires effort on my part, you see. Setting up an exam paper and then examining and correcting and whatever it is. It's just, I guess, my laziness that we are not following this step. But truly speaking, we are talking to people who are mature and self-responsible. So that way you become your own examiner. You are, I'm sure. The fact that you are saying that that's for examination, that means that you are an examiner of your own as to how we understand the concept. But perhaps that is okay. I think at the end of the retreat, if there is a question paper and there are answers and things, it would have a certain purpose to serve, no doubt. But since we have never given exams, we don't take exams,
They can give summary every day. If somebody
His guru, that is what, he used to do that, Swami Brahmatmananda.
Swami,
Huh? Yes.
if you are going to have a test, please make it open class notes
Ah,
so that we can use your notes and write.
it's called open book examination. There are you would like that, isn't it? Open book examination.
Usually open book examinations are tough. So
Huh?
open book examinations are tough.
And I don't know that she knows or not. That's why I'm asking. That you like open book examination, you would keep, because book is open, that's how they ask you. Books are closed, then they give you some benefit. Books are open. Yes, sir.
in our website arshavilas.in, there are quiz on Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and Brahma Sutra. There will be 25 questions each, and there are multiple choice questions. So those who want to test their skills, they can check in our website.
So, yes, Avinashalingam, they have a website where these things are there. I know that Chinmaya Mission, they may still have the correspondence course for 1 year. They will send you material, I think, every week or something. And then at the end of the year, there is examination, and they give you a certificate. People are proud to say, I passed that test. So that was a very clever way of making people feel involved and feel accomplished, So Bada Swami just set up. It may still be that, I don't know, Chinmaya Mission may still have a correspondence course. What is it? Brahmatmanji? No, Tattva-bodha, when the text is over, there is a test on Tattva-bodha. And I don't know whether that practice is continued or not, I do not know, but in the olden days, when he started classes, I know this was there. And what else he was doing, I don't know. What other things, whether he asked people to come and recite or explain what is it that... I would not be surprised if he did that, He's a pretty taskmaster, Since we had a guru who was not a taskmaster, we never became one, Swamiji mentioned the other day that while there is death, there is no cessation of existence. Because death is nothing but, just as matter is indestructible and only changes form, so life is also indestructible, changes embodiment. So there is no beginning or end of life. It changes the embodiment from one to the other. In that sense, there is no cessation of existence. Of this body, yes, but not of the Jivatma, who transmigrates from one embodiment to the other. But the next part of the question, in this context, how do we understand the Upanishad Vakyam? Na pretya sanyasti. Many of you may not know, but this is a statement of sage Yajnavalkya teaching Maitreyi, and na pretya sanyasti. Pretya literally means after departing from this body, meaning death. So after death there is no sanya. Sanya means no consciousness. This is how Maitreyi understood. After death, there is no consciousness, that means there is no Atma. Therefore, Atma does not continue to exist after death. And Jesus, sir, you have totally confused me by this statement. So far I understood from your teaching that Atma is immortal. And now you are saying that after death there is no consciousness. So Sri Jagana says, when I said no consciousness, that means that no consciousness as an individual. That I am Maitreyi. Not there is no consciousness, the sanya asti. The sanya, the name, the nomenclature is no more there. Maitreyi thought that there is no consciousness, Atma after death, there is no consciousness. There is no particular consciousness arising from identifying with the body. And death, that does not mean the death of the body, it means dying to the body is becoming free from identification of the body. Otherwise, real death doesn't take place. But real death takes place for a wise person who is free from the identification of the body. That's what Yajnavalkya meant. That for a wise person who is free from identification, sanya, that I am so and so, no more remains. That so and so arises from identification of the body. And that is called pretya when it is not. So pretya is the word used in Upanishad. Pretya asmal lokat amrita bhavanti. Asmal lokat pretya, meaning that giving up identification of this body, become immortal. We recognize that you are immortal. So this statement is not in reference to death, the pretya sanyasti. It is applicable only to a vidwan or to any human being. Pretya sanya nasti only applies to a wise person. Pretya means having departed from the body. Now that means having become free from the identification of the body. Otherwise you depart from one body and enter another body. But you depart from body once and for all when you become free from identification. For the wise person then, no sanya or no sense of I am so and so. That I am so and so arises from identification. So he doesn't have that sanya anymore. That's what Sage Yajnavalkya meant. In today's class, you mentioned that Vidya was to be taken as Upasana. Upasana Yoga, it says, and Avidya was taken as Karma Yoga. And that one should not be neglected at the cost of the other. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, Bhagavan mentions a krama or order which is based on adhikatma jignasu. It says, Mayi eva manadatsva, Mayi buddhim niveshaya, nivasisya mayi eva atha chittam samadatam na shaknoshi mayi sthiram abhyasa yogena tatha. Abhyasepya samatosi mat karma paramoha. And even that you cannot do, then sarva karma phalatyagam. So sarva karma phalatyaga, karma tyaga to Ishvara, abhyasa of focusing mind in Bhagavan, and identification with Bhagavan. So there is a famous verse, Uttama sahajavastha, dvitiya dhyanadharana, tritiya pratima puja, home yatra chaturthika. Uttama sahajavastha, the most exalted avastha is identification with Ishvara. Dvitiya dhyana dharana. When you cannot do that, then dhyanam and dharana, meditation and concentration. Can't do that, tritiya pratima puja. Third stage is the worship of pratima or image, Lord in the form of image. Home yatra chaturthika. If that also you cannot do, homa and yatra. So meaning that depends upon the ability of mind to focus. Homa and yatra, they don't require much concentration. Pratima puja requires some concentration. Meditation requires further concentration. And identity with Ishvara, most concentration. So that's how Lord Krishna mentions these 4 steps in the 12th chapter. That's not the krama here. Lord Krishna doesn't mean Upasana Yoga and Karma Yoga. Lord Krishna mentions the 4 stages of the focus of the mind. Lowest is Karma Phala Tyaga. More than that is Karma Tyaga. More than that is Abhyasa or meditation. And more than that is Samadhi. So these are the stages of concentration Lord Krishna mentions. Not related with Vidya and Upasana of this Upanishad. 1 minute. Here, there, at Taripasha.
Yeah. So, how how should an Advaitant's attitude be while he does the Pratima Puja?
How should Advaitins' attitude be when?
While doing Pratima Puja.
Pratima Puja.
I mean, idol worship.
Yeah, it's Pratima, don't call it idol worship. So it is worship of Ishvara in the form of Pratima. Then you are a devotee, and that is Lord. When you are worshipping, you are, offering your devotion and everything to the Lord. That is the attitude. No Advaita. Advaita cannot be in puja, etc. That requires duality. So accept that. But this is the duality which helps you ultimately grow out of duality. So we function in duality today such that duality becomes more intense. Because when you relate with ragadveshas, but here when you are performing Ishvaras or Devata worship, see one thing that this puja does, is that number one, you are alone with your Ishtadevata. Number two, you know that you are not being judged. See, when you are with anybody else, there is always a concern about my being judged. And usually I have a facade. When I am with you, I don't show exactly what I am. I always display myself as I think you would like it to be. Or I always seek, hey, go. Gone. The battery gets over, right suddenly. You hear, but I don't hear. So when you are doing Pratima Puja, the advantage is that you know that you are not being judged by, say if it is Lord Krishna, always smiling. Whether you offer him food with lot of salt, he continues to smile. Meaning that he is a non-demanding Lord. You know that you are accepted here. You are not judged. You are safe and secure. Therefore, you can be what you are without any pretension. We are not. When we are in the world, some pretense, some facade is always there. Because always a fear of rejection, something is always, concern is there. So, I am not totally honest when I am with the world. There I am honest because I know he is smiling. He accepts me as I am. I don't have to pretend. That's the reason why in the puja, you have a frame of mind where you are as you are, with a sense of acceptance, security. So that is when your devotion also is an opportunity to manifest. So no non-duality business in puja. The puja means worship, that's all. You don't bring Advaita everywhere. Where it is brought, then you bring. What's the significance of Chin Mudra while meditating? So, there are a variety of mudras are there, and each mudra represents a certain energy. And Chin Mudra also represents, I guess, a certain energy level where the energy is retained. This symbolically, Chin Mudra is the mudra of the oneness or identity of the Jiva and Ishvara. But like every mudra also, this represents a certain energy of retention of energy. And so there are so many mudras in which meditation can be performed, of which this is the most familiar to us because of Lord Dakshinamurtis. And so, yes, it is. People do that, and that retains your energy within yourself. Chin Mudra. I should expect this question. I am in the process of abiding in the Advaita truth that everything is Brahman and Ishvara, and myself is no other than that. When I see you in the Dakshinamurti temple, I wonder when I see you sitting there for the full puja and bowing down to Dakshinamurti. Now here gives me benefit of doubt. It seems to me like Ishvara bowing down to Ishvara. I like to hear that. So I am curious to know what your bhava is when you are bowing. My bhava is one of a devotee. When I am sitting there for puja, I am a devotee of the Lord. And when I bow down also, there is no Advaita. In puja, there is the bhava of worship. And so, meaning that I enjoy doing that, and I guess there is definitely some benefit of doing it, so that's why. So no, there is no Advaita bhava. When I am bowing down, I bow down as a devotee would bow down before the Lord. It seems to me that realizing moksha or swarupa jnanam is a gradual process with abiding the knowledge, but some of the realized souls indicated the date of their enlightenment, day and place. Famous example is Buddha. So is it a gradual process or sudden process? So this is also, many people have reported, some all of a sudden some realization coming, which I don't deny, but it is a process of growth. If something comes suddenly, it is good, but it can go away also suddenly. But here we look upon this as a process of self-growth, of antahkarana shuddhi and knowledge and abidance in knowledge. So, it is not something that does not mean that someone cannot have an experience. Someone cannot have that, depend on the past samskaras also. It's likely that your past samskaras may, which are waiting due to some obstacles within you, when that is gone, it may just show up. So there is a famous story of Ramana Maharshi at the age of 16. All of a sudden, so we would say that this is what was there in the past, waiting to express itself, and whatever obstacle, whatever was there, so during that 16 years, that obstacle, some karma had to experience that is done. But still, we would like to only understand that as not a sudden event that happened at that time, it is something that happened which is a result of his past accomplishments, and whatever must have remained still to be done for abidance is what then he did, for those 11 years, etc. So it is best to understand that as a process. But it is likely that we are carrying, because from birth to birth we continue in the same progressive path. And at one point in time, in the 6th chapter, Shankaracharya says also, Tatratam buddhi sanyogam labhate paurodehikam yatadecha tato bhuyah samsiddho kurunandana. That in the next birth also he gets connected to where he left in the previous birth. So Bhashyakara says that when some obstacle that was there, when it is over, then he gets connected and he continues that process. So there was something because of which he took birth, which meaning that there was something that he had to go through as a result of some karma, and when that is over, he gets connected again. So this is how we would, Buddha, the Bodhisattva avatars are well known. Bodhisattva, there are stories of the many past avatars of Gautam Buddha. They are called Bodhisattva. So there also we see a process, and therefore In this birth it will look like there was a certain, but in fact he was under Bodhi tree for a long time, and then there was enlightenment. So it's also a culmination of what all these must have been doing over many births. In case there is something like that, it's also a result of something that has been done which was waiting and which was obstructed for some reason. And therefore it is possible that one can have an experience. Says here, some people claim that I got enlightened at 4:30 on this Friday, on this day. There are people who say that. And they celebrate it, it's every year, etc. Could be that at that point in time that there was some experience or which must be the result of again what has been done in the past. It cannot suddenly come without any reason. Reason was there and yes.
Swamiji, if we say we are experiencing something, then again I am objectifying that and I cannot objectify. Swamiji, sorry. If I say that I am experiencing something, then it is again I am objectifying Atman, and which is not Advaita. So please, I am sorry.
Right. No, whatever you are experiencing is not Atman, you are experiencing a given state of mind. And therefore it is possible that you have a given exalted state of mind, a pure state of mind, which is what you experience. And that may be a precursor of ultimately, leading you to self-knowledge. So not that experiences do not take place. All we can say is that the knowledge of self is not an experience, it's a recognition. It can be preceded or followed by experiences. Then next question is, Oh, okay. So yogis indicated realization related to raising of Kundalini and to Sahasrara Chakra. That also is that is the Hatha Yoga or Kundalini Yoga, where the Hatha Yogis use their power of the mind for concentration, and so that is also definitely a path of experiencing. That is definitely part of experiencing of bliss. And whether that should equate to moksha or not is one's own thing, but this is there. There is something called Kundalini Yoga, where Kundalini does rise, and at progressive level there are experiences. We won't deny that. The Yoga Vasishtha says that there are some who have affinity for yoga, there are some who have affinity for jnana. So Yoga Vasishtha very clearly says that. So in fact, even Srimad Bhagavatam says also that Antahkarana Shuddhi takes place. In some mind, desire for knowledge arises. In some mind, the desire for worship arises. So both bhakti also requires Antahkarana Shuddhi and jnana also requires. And therefore Antahkarana Shuddhi can bring about one of these also. That's what he said there. So
What if there is both? What if there is both?
there is both.
The desire for devotion as well as desire for...
Good, they are there. But to distinguish a devotee from a person devoted or commitment of knowledge.
But would it clash? That is what you said.
No, they would not clash. But when the devotion is, that is what he focuses upon. That's why his mind is just for worshipping Ishvara only. Which is what Bhagavatam would describe. Various devotees are described there who were totally always meditating upon and identifying with the Ishvara. And on the other hand, there are those who are contemplating upon. So a contemplative mind and a mind with an emotional mind. You can have both, but this is how Antahkarana Shuddhi may be predominantly one that creates a strong desire for knowledge or a strong desire for merging into Ishvara, etc. Ramakrishna used to say that meditation techniques are like rubber toys for infants that don't have teeth. Could this statement be connected to what we have discussed today in the morning class? That since meditation is a mental worship, it still involves a doer, or do you think that there are some other reasons regarding this statement? Perhaps what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa meant is that he did not require meditation. I mean, he carried all this from his past. You can't expect someone born with what he was born with. And so this has to be understood as culmination of what has been going on in the life of an aspirant over a period of time. So Ramakrishna was essentially born that way, so was Ramana Maharshi. So that devotees call them avatars, so they were more or less ready. And since meditation is mental worship, it still involves a doer. So do you think that some other reasons about statement of Ramakrishna? I guess Ramakrishna meant that you don't need any technique. He did not need any technique. He just right away went to Samadhi, was absorbed. So he was at a point where he did not need any technique. That does not mean that others do not need a method or technique. But then you have to ultimately, grow into that level. That is perhaps what he meant there. Is there a significance of these ceremonies that we do monthly or yearly after a person has passed away? So Shraddha ceremonies, etc., and the Tarpanam that is done every month. Does the above help the soul in transitioning to higher worlds? See, all the Shraddha is based on Shraddha. Shraddhaya yat kriyate tat Shraddham, that's how they explain, meaning it is a belief that soul is departed and that Jiva Atma is in Pitraloka. And so what we do here is supposedly reaches that, so with Sankalpa, what we do here reaches there, and that's how that Pitru is helped to overcome any obstacles if there are in order for him to remain in that loka. So these rituals are meant to make sure that they remain in Pitraloka and continue to enjoy or experience what Pitraloka has to offer. Because as Arjuna said, if you don't offer this water, etc., then they fall. So it's all a matter of belief, What is the Pradushyanti kulastriya strishu dushta shuvashne jayate vana sankaro narakaya kulagnanam kulasya patanti pitaro hesham lupta pindo udaka kriya. If pinda udaka kriya is not there, then the thing is that the pitrus will fall down. So this pinda, etc. is done to make sure that they remain in Pitraloka. This is all matter of belief. Most other than Hindus or Vedikas, nobody has any because most people don't believe in next birth anyway. But here also, Jains and many others, they don't do these things. And in India also now, very few people do the Shraddha, etc. Most people lost Shraddha in those things. But it's a matter of, if nothing else, it's a good karma, sat karma. And but what Swami, if the soul has already left, doesn't matter. Then, because Sat karma is done, there is a Punya karma. If they don't get it, you will get it. So somebody will certainly get the benefit of that. So if you have Shraddha, please do it. That's all I can say. Do you incur papa or bad karma if you don't do it? If you know you should do it and still don't do it, perhaps. If you did not know, then perhaps it may not matter, But I must admit that most people have given up that thing, because the present generation has no Shraddha in these things. In Swarga and Naraka and the Pitraloka, etc. People, it's not in our radar. Swarga and Naraka is not in our radar, you can say. And so Kailas Ashram, Mandaleshwari, Divyanandji has come, I think. We invite him once, during our... So he was talking about that. He says, Shraddha nahi hai isliye, because there is no... What Swarga? We don't believe in that. So the question of performing karma for Swarga, most people don't have Shraddha in these things. So that is how things are falling apart. This requires Shraddha, that is a Pitraloka, that the soul has gone to Pitraloka, what I do helps that, etc., etc. And so there are sections, particularly in the, I think, south of India, Tamil Nadu, other states also, where people have a lot of Shraddha. And they perform Shraddha with a great devotion and with very elaborate Shraddha is being done, which is fine. Elsewhere it's done in this measure, that measure, this measure, that measure, that measure, that, and not done. So there are all varieties, as far as the Shraddha is concerned. But you do according to your Shraddha. We say human beings have this unique faculty of free will or ability to choose. This distinguishes them from animals. But these days, we see some pets, especially dogs, having emotions like jealousy, possessiveness. At times they also choose not to obey the orders. What is this phenomenon? As I said, you must have lived with you a long time, So must have imbibed some qualities of human beings, emotions. So we can influence. If a living being lives for a long time, I guess the potential may be there, emotional potential may be there, and that is what is invoked, because you keep on expressing your emotions, and that is how emotions in the pet also perhaps are invoked. So it is possible. Really speaking, when we compare ourselves with animals, etc., more than anything else, we want to show how a human being enjoys this unique faculty. But then, there is no reason to say that they don't have it. The reason why I give example of an animal is to just understand the difference between choice and... That does not mean there is no animal, there is no choice, etc. There are animals also emotions to a certain extent. They have memory to a very little extent. And then they forget who is mother and who is son and who is that. All emotions, as when a child is born, so their mother has emotions. Once they grow up, then that is no more there. And that is how it should be there. You can't survive otherwise. If a female lion has emotions whole life, she'll be worried about this thing, when it is, But then that's it, it's gone. Then they can live their life as they are supposed to live. Forest living requires that. Otherwise there is attachment, memory, I am missing him, and that kind of stuff doesn't work there, So it is good, what they have is good for them. It's better they don't have choices, they don't have those kind of emotions. Otherwise they cannot survive there. That doesn't, we don't want to prove that they don't have emotions. But generally this is observation. There could be exception, I don't know. But saying that human being has free will is not to deny free will elsewhere. This is just to say it by comparison to show how we are different, how, for example, like a sparrow has not learned how to build houses, Same thing keeps on doing for hundreds of years, has not learned. Cow has not learned, keeps on same eating raw grass. If I were there, I would cook the grass, spice the grass also. Nothing has happened there, Human beings will do that. So that way that observation leads us to believe that, they are already programmed to do what they need to do. And when program is no free will. Free will means that we are not totally programmed. But others, they make choices according to nature. That is why we say they don't have free will. They don't need it, put it this way, because they are programmed and nature has provided them. They make the choice that is required. So put some grass and a piece of meat, cow will not eat meat. And if you put that before a dog, he will eat meat and not grass. So this they follow their instinct. That's the general observation. There can be always exceptions. Why my dog is like this? There are lots of exceptions are there. There was a dog in Nasik, every Ekadashi would observe fast and stuff like that. So there are exceptional things. Likely that some souls are born that way, but generally this is the general rule. Okay. Tomorrow's class schedule, Swami has told. And
So tomorrow morning we'll have a class at 9 a.m. Gita class, and 10:30 will be tea, right by the lecture hall. You don't have to go anywhere. And 11 o'clock will be Swamiji's class, followed by conclusion of the camp. Is that clear?
so right now our camp booklet says 11:15 to 12:15 instead of 11 to 12 tomorrow, so that we have some time available. If his Swami says some people want to, that seems to be.
Meditation is on. The only change is 9 a.m. I will be doing the class, and Swamiji's class will be at 11:15 a.m. Sorry, 11 a.m.
11 a.m.
11 a.m. And tea is 10:30 right here by the lecture hall.
So if some people want to express, their opinion or feelings, then there is time available before lunch. So that is why class is advanced to 11 a.m. The tea will be advanced to 10:30, and so you won't be late for lunch. Hopefully, that's the idea. Kali Maheshwari Parvati Shankari Kali Kali Maheshwari Parvati Shankari Sharanam 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 Ma Sharanam 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 Ma Kali Maheshwari Parvati Shankari Sharanam 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 Ma Durgati Nashini Durga Jai Jai Durgati Nashini Durga Jai Jai Kala Vinashini Kali Jai Jai Kala Vinashini Kali Jai Jai Uma Rama Brahmani Jai Jai Uma Rama Brahmani Jai Jai. Radha Sita Rukmini Jai Jai. Radha Sita Rukmini Jai Jai. Kali Maheshwari Parvati Shankari. Sharanam 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 Ma. Durgati Nashini Durga Jai Jai. Kala Vinashini Kali Jai Jai. Uma Rama Brahmani Jai Jai. Radha Sita Rukmini Jai Jai. Radha Sita Rukmini Jai Jai. Kali Maheshwari Parvati Shankari. Kali Maheshwari Parvati Shankari. Sharanam 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 Ma. Sharanam 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 Ma. Durgati Nashini Durga Jai Jai. Durgati Nashini Durga Jai Jai. Kala Vinashini Kali Jai Jai. Kala Vinashini Kali Jai Jai. Uma Rama Brahmani Jai Jai. Uma Rama Brahmani Jai Jai. Radha Sita Rukmini Jai Jai. Radha Sita Rukmini Jai Jai. Radha Sita Rukmini Jai Jai. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah. Sarve Santu Niramayah. Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu. Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhaved. Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amrutangamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.